The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and happy Friday. I am Julia Talbot, and you are joining the Department of Family and Support Services, Youth Enrichment Chicago Housing Authority Summer Program RFP Applicant webinar. We are so excited to see you this morning or hear from you. I'm so happy that you are interested in this particular opportunity. A little bit of housekeeping first. Due to the volume of participants, everybody's been placed on mute. If you are having technical issues, please use the question box to notify us, and we will try to work those things out for you. We will address questions at the midpoint and the end of the presentation. Please put those questions in as soon as you think of them, though, and we will try to. And then we can have a nice body of questions to start with at the midpoint while other people are collecting their thoughts. This webinar is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be posted on the DFSS YouTube channel because everybody has a YouTube channel, and why not us? You can see all of our webinars there if you want to relive the glory moments of listening to me talk about the e-procurement system along with other things, but it's really about me. With a link, and then the link is from the YouTube channel is going to be and a PDF of these PowerPoint slides will be posted to the DFSS website, and you can see here the address under the alerts and or the funding opportunity tabs. This will take up to 5 business days. Please, everybody repeat after me. This will take up to 5 business days. This is my 4th webinar in the past 3 days, and most of the time I say this many times, but I still get 15 emails from people asking me when the webinar is going to be posted and can they have the slides this minute. No, you can't. No, though I don't even have a link yet, so I will not be posting this for up to 5 business days. So there you go. That's my rant for this morning. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We're going to move on here with our agenda. I am joined today by the most awesome Maria Guzman Rocha. She is the manager, I believe. Maria, would you like to tell me your title again? Because I haven't committed it to her. But she is super awesome, and she can tell you everything you want to know and maybe more about this program. Maria?
Julia, I don't believe we're seeing your slides unless it's just me.
Let me make sure. Oh yeah, sure. You sure aren't. Look at that.
All right.
Here you go.
Yay. Okay. Yeah, I'm good to go.
You're good to go.
Sounds great. Good morning, everyone. As Julia said, my name is Maria Guzman Rocha. I am the director of the Enrichment portfolio here at DFSS in the Youth Services Division. We will be going through the Chicago Housing Authority Summer Program RFP 9305 today. Just wanting to make sure folks are in the right place. This is our agenda for today, and before we get started, I do want to acknowledge a few folks that are here, both from the Youth Services Division. We have our Deputy Commissioner, Shadra Lang. Hi, Shadra. And a couple of business coordinators, particularly for CHA. Jessica Bailey Washington is on as an attendee. And we have our wonderful folks at CHA, Gianna Branch, Natalia Navarez, and I believe Tiara Whitlock we're waiting for as well. So just wanting to give a shout out to them. This is a program funded by CHA. So they have been very gracious and us to develop these RFPs to align to our others, but also tailor them to serve young people who are CHA residents. So we'll talk through that in a second, but just wanted to give a hello and good morning to everyone. For those of you who have attended previous webinars and even the webinar from yesterday, a lot of this is going to seem familiar, but there are some very key differences that we're going to highlight during the webinar today. So we'll move on to the RFP itself and just talk through a little bit about what we're looking to do. The CHA summer program is looking to provide funding for delegates to implement safe, supportive, interactive, and engaging youth development activities, primarily for youth who are residents of CHA in the community areas of Douglas, Graham Boulevard, the near West Side, Riverdale, Roseland, and Washington Park. These are what we call our 6 priority areas for CHA residents. There will be some key things to remember when we're talking about these areas. And as I mentioned before, this is one of the distinctions between these RFPs and our enrichment RFPs, that we are doing this by community area and wanting to specify these 6 community areas in particular. So again, similar to our enrichment programming across the board, we are wanting our CHA summer delegates to provide young people with meaningful and enriching programming that allows them to develop certain skills, building and reinforcing these social, emotional, and cognitive skills, as well as developing positive relationships and belonging with peers and adults in the program. And that also provides them with leadership opportunities. Speaking to the choir here, we want to reiterate that our programs are evidence informed. We want to look at what the research has shown out of school time programs provide young people and how it helps their development. And also, tailor our programs to the needs of our community and how our practices and our programs are informing this research. But we all know that out of school time programs are beneficial. They both can foster the development of young people, helping them solve problems better, make better decisions, have higher sense of belonging, but they also can provide protective factors in being linked to fewer problems in childhood and adolescence, lower rates of substance abuse, fewer problem behaviors, etc. These out-of-school time programs really have a unique ability to adapt and expand services to meet the needs of young people in our communities. You can read the wonderful remainder of these bullet points. I'm really trying to highlight some of the information that is on these slides for you all to have additional or more clear information on the RFP. Moving to the current state, as you all know, this is a new program cycle. So we are funding new programs in 2023, but we have had all of these programs that have been existing since a while back, but we have done in the past youth surveys. And last year we did a youth survey for all of our young people in our summer programs. And we can see that there is wonderful data. Young people are really getting great experiences from these programs. They're reporting feeling more hopeful about the future. They are strengthening or building new friendships. And it's just really wonderful to see how this reinforces some of the information that I covered earlier in that background, where the out-of-school time programs are shown to be beneficial to young people. In terms of priorities for improvement, these priorities for improvement are across the board what we're looking to do in our enrichment portfolio, which covers all of our out-of-school time programs, including CHA. We want to foster positive youth development. We want to create programs that are more aligned with research in best practices in youth development. We want to make sure that our activities in our programs are developmentally appropriate. So are you taking into account the different ages and age groups and needs of young people, and not just doing a one-size-fits-all kind of programming? And we want to prioritize both the enrollment of underserved youth and ensuring they're being served appropriately, and also prioritizing continuous improvement and ensuring that we are looking at what we're doing. Is it working? Is it not working? And making changes based on that analysis. In terms of the target population, this is again one of those distinctions between the CHA RFPs and our other enrichment RFPs. We are prioritizing the community areas that I just mentioned. And we are intending for the summer program to serve 280 young people who are CHA residents. Eligibility for this program is restricted to young people who are current residents of CHA, and they have to demonstrate that, and who are between the ages of 6 and 21. Again, another one of the distinctions between this and our other enrichment RFPs. Okay, so here we have our community areas on a map. You can see We are serving these 6, and so hopefully this helps a little bit just visualize where it is that we are hoping that our programs are serving young people. There is a requirement for there to be a physical location, so a site location address that is within one of these 6 areas. And I'll go into that in a little bit. A lot of what is in this slide I've mentioned already, but we do want to make sure that respondents, applicants are to demonstrate a proven track record in implementing out of school time programs, and particularly tailored to CHA youth residents. One thing to, just before I move on, one thing to highlight is for those of you who are new to DFSS and applying for RFPs, these webinars are hopefully helpful to you because they pull out a lot of the information that is in the RFP itself, but we still do advise that you read the RFP and become very familiar with it. There is a lot of information in there that'll help you answer the application questions, and we've pointed to within the slides where you can find this information in the RFP in the upper right-hand corner, as these guides hopefully can help you answer some of these questions. So some of the important things to pull out in this program requirements table is the rate per youth slot. So you can see here that when we talk about summer programs for both enrichment and CHA, we are looking to fund at a rate of $1,200 per young person. We do have a ratio, so we're looking at 200. Oh, there is a typo there. Number of youth slots is 280. We will make that correction when we send out the slide or when we post the slides. But we are looking at a staff to youth ratio of 2:20, meaning that there is a minimum cohort number of 20. So any applicant that submits an application must agree to serving at least 20 young people, and any additional young people must be added in increments of 10. So you can serve 20, 30, 40, etc. But a minimum of 20, and there has to be a 1:10 or 2:20 ratio, staff to youth ratio. In terms of what we call program dosage, so how many hours is the program operating? We're asking that programs offer a minimum of 120 hours of programming over the course of at least 6 weeks between June and August. So there is some flexibility there. There are more than 6 weeks between those 2 months or 3 months, but there needs to be at least 120 hours over the course of 6 weeks. You can run up to 9 weeks, I think, something like that. But the minimum is 120 hours and 6 weeks. And hours may include evenings and weekends. We understand that in the summer, young people aren't going to school, so you may operate hours on the weekends or in the evenings. And in terms of what we call program completion, so how many hours do young people come? We're looking for there to be, we're looking for a goal, to meet a goal of participating at least 96 hours a summer. We understand that young people are involved in a lot of things and perhaps may not be able to come. So there is some room around that, but that is what we're looking for young people to participate, to get the most out of these programs. Okay, these are requirements across all of our programs. So once you respondents are looking at the application, you'll see that there are various age groups to select from. You can select multiple age groups, and there is not a requirement of how many youth per age group. So if you are a smaller program and you want to serve 5 young people from each of these age groups, that's fine. That's not something that you need to, be super strict about. As long as once activities are outlined, we can see that they're developmentally appropriate for the young people, the different age groups that you're serving. Another thing to pull out here is that we have program specialty areas. So we have 6 or 5 program specialty areas across all of our enrichment programs. And we are asking for this information primarily as a way to group agencies together. So if you do more than one, the application will ask you to select a primary program specialty area. If you do more than one, which many programs do, that's totally fine. We just ask that you select one for purposes of, maybe the one that you do the most for purposes of grouping agencies once agencies are selected. And then the program components are just best practices in youth development and out of school time programming. We're looking for agencies to have thought through and hopefully implemented a lot of this within programming already. And so the two bottom ones I think are really important. All of them are really important to us, but the two bottom ones are specific questions in the evaluation tool around staff onboarding and training opportunities and opportunities for parent and family and community engagement, along with the youth development practices in the first four. Okay, we have quite a bit of information around program requirements. So we're looking for a lot of things. We're looking for respondents that will be able to recruit, hire, and manage program staff being positive, enthusiastic, that they are ensuring that objectives are met and that they're providing individual and group support. So there will be an opportunity in the application to answer all of these questions and provide information about that. And then in addition to that, we are giving preference who hire program staff with experience in youth development and also those who come from the communities in which the program is located. That's really important that young people are able to connect to the program staff that can relate to them and that can provide them with the support. You can see page 12 for examples of roles and responsibilities for program staff. There are requirements in terms of what program staff need to comply with around areas of human resources. So you see here, there's a federal fingerprint background check, mandated reporter, etc. And once an agency is contracted, they'll need to provide support of having met all of these within one of our databases. And there are requirements, again, once an agency or an organization is contracted, they'll be required to participate in learning meetings and deliver necessary training to staff. So there are quite a few areas of this that we'll target once we are working with agencies within their work plan, but that is just something to keep in mind of that this is part of the contractual agreement. Moving on to program procedure requirements, if agencies are making changes around staffing, facilities, anything that has to do with what has been agreed upon, there is an agreement that those changes will be informed back to us and that there are written procedures once our monitoring teams go out and that there are site visits. An agency must have certain things in place. And if the program is closing for any reason, there is a protocol for informing us of that information as well. So again, this is just for your information and will be reiterated in a work plan once an agent or an organization is awarded. Okay, so let's talk about what we're looking for in terms of performance goals and outcomes. To track progress, there are certain metrics that we're trying to meet or outcomes, and we'll be doing this through data collection from youth, parents and guardians and staff at the end of the summer. So we realize that the summer is a very quick turnaround. There's a lot going on, it's potentially only 6 weeks, and that time passes really quickly, but we do work with a consultant to provide surveys or survey links, I should say, to our programs that can then get distributed to young people, collecting some of this information. So we're looking for data around feeling safe and supported, learning new skills, positive relationships, sense of connectedness. Those are some of the goals that I mentioned earlier. So we actually do measure that and how young people feel that their experience contributed to some of this information. And so our goal is that at least 85% of young people report positive outcomes in these areas. And then we also monitor and track outputs from organizations that are contracted, including 90% of youth slots being filled at any given time, 50% of youth meeting this is actually a typo, so we will remove this. We don't have a target population criteria for this RFP, so we will remove this, but we are looking for 80% average daily program attendance and 85% of youth completing the summer program, so attending at least 96 hours a summer. I mentioned earlier, we understand that young people have other commitments, so there is some room there where they're not having to complete the full 120 hours of programming. This is additional information about how we're going to award funding. So again, we're looking to fund agencies or organizations that have site location addresses in one of these 6 community areas. We'll be making awards by community area. If their agencies are seeking, or respondents are seeking funding for multiple sites, there must be a different application for each community area. And we're making recommendations for contract awards by community area, ensuring that there's a balance of location, residents, age groups, and program specialty area. And again, respondents can only apply for a community area in which they can demonstrate a physical address. And we're looking to award potentially up to 14 agencies, each receiving 20 slots, but we're not, that's not, a guarantee, because we're not really sure how many applications we'll get, but that's sort of the range that we're looking at. And this says the same thing, so we can move on. Okay, so again, there is a rate of $1,200 per youth with a minimum of 20 youth and additional increments of 10 youth. Here you can see on the screen a budget sample, a sample budget breakdown with a budget of $24,000, which would be for the minimum of 20 youth. If a respondent wants to apply for 30, you just do that calculation and distribute the funding. This is a sample, so this is not necessarily, if an organization gets awarded, this is not necessarily the budget that is going to be for this year. It would be a respondent organization would have to submit a confirmed budget for whatever funding they receive. So if an organization requests 30 youth and that's the budget that they submit, they may only get 20 and they'll have to submit a new budget for that reflects that amount. So a couple of things to clarify. The contract for this award is from May 1st of this year through December 31st of 2024. So it is a 2-year contract. The budget period, however, is between May 1st and September 30th of every year funded, meaning that organizations can spend between May 1st, but have to finalize their spending by September 30th. We are capping administrative costs at 15%, and we are requiring that organizations demonstrate a minimum 15% in-kind match. The budget, as I mentioned, that is submitted is for 1 year or 1 summer, 1 program cycle of services, and that funding is what is received, whatever is awarded is received every year. And then there are additional bullet points here about the budget itself, primarily just using reasonable costs on the application or on the budget. So if you're proposing an art program, if we see sports equipment or something that doesn't align, that's when we're going to begin questioning things. And just some common errors as we see here. Again, make sure that your calculations are correct, that you're putting budgets or you're putting line items in the appropriate columns, that you're showing your match, job descriptions, and that your job descriptions are uploaded. They have the same title and a brief description, just to ensure that we see that there is some work done on the budget and that the budget has been reviewed. Okay, so we're going to move on to the selection criteria, and selection criteria is essentially how RFP reviewers look at the evaluation questions. There are a few categories, starting with community involvement. I think you have to go back one, Julia. Our first category is community involvement, and so you see here that the primary section of this selection criteria is that a respondent demonstrates a clear understanding of the young people in their community area. So are they, what are their needs and challenges, and what are their strengths and opportunities? There has to be some understanding of that in order for us to know that the agency is going to tailor their programming to some of this and be able to also leverage the strengths and opportunities that these young people have. Respondents have to demonstrate relevant competencies, capabilities, infrastructure needed to provide the services for the young people in the proposed community area, and you can read the remainder there. All right, then we look at organizational capacity. So do respondents demonstrate that program staffing is sufficient for what you are proposing to provide? So if an agency or an organization is proposing to provide programming for 100 young people, are there enough staff? Are the staff qualified, culturally competent, et cetera, et cetera? Does the respondent have adequate systems and processes to support monitoring program expenditures and fiscal controls? It's very big for us to know if an agency or an organization is requesting a certain amount of funding, are they going to be able to spend that money? We have to do our due diligence as good stewards of our funding and not just provide funding because it's been requested, but that there is enough infrastructure to be able to do that. And then obviously having adequate human resources to hire and manage the staff based on the funding being requested. Okay, this is the section, the strength of proposed program is the section that has the most weight because we want to ensure that the program that's being proposed is, aligning with our goals, aligning with our vision of what we want to accomplish for the young people of this program. So there needs to be a clear connection between the program activities and the outcome goals of the RFP. There has to be a clear and specific description of how the program is going to incorporate the program components that I mentioned earlier. So are there safe and supportive activities? Are they developmentally appropriate for the young people and the age groups that you're trying to serve? Are you engaging the community? Is there training for staff, et cetera, et cetera? And then again, the developmentally appropriate component is a big component here for our programming. Does the proposed programming have a clear plan on how to identify, recruit, and retain the youth that they're proposing to serve? And is there a detailed description of how the program is going to, or the organization is going to provide comprehensive services for the young people they serve? And then most importantly, is there a detailed description of how the program is going to gather feedback from young people? Is there a youth voice? Are they going to be part of the decision-making process and incorporated into how activities are designed? We have a couple more sections. So performance management and outcomes. I think I mentioned this earlier. Does the program demonstrate strong past performance, or in this kind of program or a similar kind of program? We understand that sometimes organizations offer new programming or are trying new programming, and that's great. But we want to make sure that there has been some data collection, some information, some analysis. It doesn't have to be, an evaluation from an outside consultant per se, but that the organization is really focused on continuous improvement and has some of that as part of their application. And then just really the idea that there is an experience in using data, in collecting data, in tracking performance in some way, shape, or form. And then finally, well, there's this and the attachments, reasonable cost, budget justification, and leverage of funds. This is a reimbursement only contract. Again, this is a reimbursement only contract. So there must be some evidence that the organization can provide that funding upfront and then get reimbursed for it. So there are quite a few questions around that aspect. Okay, and then finally the attachments. So this is just being able to provide certain information that is going to be important for us to determine if the program is eligible, if there is collaboration with other organizations, are there MOUs or linkage agreements, if there is a strong collaboration with another organization, if you have any kind of report or study or other documentation that shows performance, that can be attached in the application. And then if you already have staff that are part of the program that you are proposing, uploading their resumes, or if not, uploading job descriptions is very important. Okay, this slide is really something that I've mentioned before. We are making recommendations by community area. So we'll look at all the applications for every community area separately, and then we'll make sure that, based on the scoring of the evaluation tools, and just so everyone is aware, each evaluation or each RFP gets evaluated by at least 2 evaluators. And then depending on the score, the average score, there is a 3rd evaluation if needed. And then based on those scores, we do make recommendations trying to balance location, age group, program specialty area, just to ensure that we have all of our bases covered. Okay, so in terms of the timeline, we are looking at the proposal webinar today. Applications are due March 21st at noon. Julia will say this several times. This is the first of 2 times I'll say it. There are no extensions. March 21st at noon is the cutoff. The system is not going to allow any applications to be submitted after that. We highly recommend submitting the application at least the day before, if not sooner. We are available to answer questions at any time, so please send those our way or throw them in the question box today. But it is really important that, especially if you have not done business with the City of Chicago, that you begin your application today, perhaps. The budget period for year 1 is, like I said, May of this year to September 30th. And then for year 2, it's May of 24 to September 30th of 24. And just to reiterate that the programming period is between June and August. So it is a summer program, a total of 120 program hours over the course of at least 6 weeks. We want to align with CPS summer break, although we understand that not all youth will be in CPS. That's totally fine. We just try to align as well as we can to the time that young people won't be in school. I've had questions about, can we do winter break as well? This is a summer program. So between the months of June and August, anything else will have to be on other funding that you have. And the budget period here is very clear that it has to be between May and September. So one more time, applications are due on March 21st at 12 noon. And I don't see any questions in the question box, Julia, but I will pass it over to you and I'll be available to answer questions should they come up. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate you sharing this program description. Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions either, but let's see. That being said, I'm going to just carry on, and whatever questions anybody has, we can maybe take a break. If I see any coming in the next couple of slides, hopefully the next portion here, I'm going to talk about how to make an application in the e-procurement environment. The City of Chicago has a cradle to grave procurement system that does everything for everybody, which means that sometimes there's some stuff that doesn't quite align with how we do stuff. Here's actually a question. Can we implement a girls only program? Oh, fascinating.
Sure.
Please go for it. So getting on with what I have to say, we're doing a my mantra here is, as Maria indicated, start early, save often. If you've never done business with the city of Chicago, I would love to encourage you to register into the iSupplier system. While we talk about iSupplier and e-procurement, use those terms fairly interchangeably, technically the iSupplier system is the vendor portal that you have an account in that you control, and you use your iSupplier account to access e-procurement, which is the city system that has the RFP applications in it. You would get some contract documents out of there if you go to contract, and that's where you're going to do all of your vouchering for reimbursement and through e-procurement. Getting an iSupplier account will take a few minutes. You fill out a form, you upload some documents about your business, and then you send that away. And then in 2 hours to 5 business days, you will get an email invitation from the e-procurement system or iSupplier system, inviting you to sort of activate and start your application, set it up. So it's not a kind of like, I'm going to step through this in 15 minutes and have my account kind of deal. It takes a little bit of time. A lot of stuff that you'll get from e-procurement or iSupplier will go into your spam or junk folders. So please be aware of that and check those folders if you're expecting something from us. There's a helpline, there's email addresses for general help. You can always call me or email me, and my phone contact information is at the end of the last slide. It's also in the RFP document. You could just Google me. I've been in so many RFP documents that it probably just would come up if you Googled my name in City of Chicago. So get your iSupplier account set up. And then we can talk about how to start your application. When I sort of say the first steps, read the narratives and selection criteria and application questions. All of these things are linked and sort of chained together. We develop our narratives, and from there we fine-tune selection criteria. And then from there, we build our application questions, and then we sort of triangulate all of those things to come up with our evaluation criteria and the evaluation tool that we use to rank your proposals or applications. So if you're looking I know that these are dense documents, they're not like the easiest or maybe the most fascinating reads you've ever engaged in, but they are very informative, and they are there, and they have been there, and they are built for you. If you have questions, again, you can talk to Maria or her staff about programmatic questions. If you have questions about how to do some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, you can contact me. But I would say if you're looking for direction, if you're looking for a way to get kind of into this program's mind or methodology, look at those documents, read them, and let what we have to say in the RFP documents inform your application. Organizations that want to submit more than one proposal may do so by submitting each proposal under a separate, unique registered account user within your iSupplier account. Don't make 2 iSupplier accounts. And then you're going to do, with an online bidding responsibility, not just a vouchering responsibility. And then you have to have a unique login account within your iSupplier account to make an application. Every time we have an opportunity for people to make, or an organization to make, more than one application, inevitably somebody tries to put both applications in through the same user account. That doesn't work. What will happen is that you just keep writing over the second one with the first one, or the first one with the second one. It won't really allow you to have 2 live applications. You have to log in as 2 different people. They can both have the same email address, but they have to have you have to have 2 unique user accounts to make 2 unique applications. So please keep that in mind. When you go to write in the if you go to write in the RFP, write your RFP, remember that there's a 4,000 character limit for all the questions, and that includes spaces and punctuation. E-procurement is not going to count that for you, nor after you submit your application will you really be able to see it in a manipulatable format. We can get a PDF of it, but you're not going to be able to manipulate those things to use them in other e-procurement applications. So I really encourage people to write their applications in a word processing software that will count those character limits and then upload everything. And then you have a nice file for whatever you want to write, to build off of for your next RFP or your next application. When you don't forget to use spell check and to attach the required attachments. We have prompts for those, but we always appreciate a well spelled application, and we do actually look at all of your attachments. They're not just there to make life harder. If you don't have them attached, that that dings your application sort of incomplete, and that's noted. It makes it hard to make a decision in the end of it all. Don't use your back button in your browser when you're completing an e-procurement application. If you do that, e-procurement will pretend it's still working, but it won't save any of your work, and then eventually you'll get an error message and it will kick you out. When you go back in, it will not have saved anything since you hit that back button. In the e-procurement environment, most things are that you can use things highlighted in blue to navigate through different pages or fields or whatever. Use those. I've been burned by that particular rule a number of times. It's really annoying and frustrating. And then, as just to sort of underscore what Maria talked about, please do not wait until the last moment. We love to see early applications. That gives everybody the time to solve problems and solve them well for you. Late applications are not accepted. No exceptions. The only way we can accept a late application is to completely reissue the RFP, make everybody who did apply on time reapply, and we really don't want to do that. It takes a lot of time. It's not fair. So if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. So that's why we say submit early, save often, because we really want to see your application. Also, you'll see we're going to go through how to accept an amendment and how to submit your application. You'll see that these are multi-screen processes that occasionally, in the submission at least phase, occasionally take a little bit of work, and you have to resolve some stuff. So you really want to be ahead of the curve and give yourself time, set yourself up for success with this submission process, and so that if you run into trouble, that you can get a hold of us. I've mentioned this to my other webinars this week. We have like five or six webinars, or applications rather, all coming in about a 3 or 4 day period. This means that, and then there are other RFPs throughout the city out there. This has been a very busy time, and that just means that everybody who's available to give technical assistance on a submission process might be tied up. And so you might have to wait in line on it. And that means you might not get your answer in time, or you need to have extra time so that we can respond to you and give you good guidance and have you come in within the deadline, because I'm anticipating there might be some phone calls, and if you're calling and you only have 5 minutes to play with before this thing is due, we might not be able to call you back in time, and that would be a real tragedy. So just so you know, I like this if you're new as well, you can submit your application, you can amend it, so you can up until the due date. So you can submit. If you're a new person, I had one person who was new to this, and they listened to our webinar and they really took it to heart, which was lovely. But then I saw them submit practicing submissions, and I loved that person gave themselves the time and the space to practice this process, which is not entirely pleasant. It's not entirely just like click, 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 and you're done. And so I was really excited to see that they were practicing it. And you know what? It meant that when they went to submit, they had kind of gotten familiar. They'd worked it all out. They'd set themselves up for success. They got their thing in on time, and it wasn't a big deal. I guess I'm just saying avoid the rush, submit early, plan on submissions taking 30 to 60 minutes, just in case, But I really love to see stuff come in early. It's a huge load off everybody's stress level. And it means that, you get to enjoy a little bit your work as writers, as applicants, and as grant writers, that you've done it, you did it ahead of time, you get that good feeling that everything's in, and it's not like that horrible kind of anxious rush. In terms of technical assistance, we do have a lot of different ways you can get a hold of us. You can get a hold, we have an e-procurement hotline, which is 312-744-HELP or 7357. That hotline operates during the business hours of Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can also call me, and my number is at the end of is on the last slide. It's also in the RFP document. You can also email if you prefer, if you don't want to people call. With the helpline, sometimes you get you have to leave a message and they will call you back within 24 to 48 hours. If you call me, chances are I'll pick up the phone, but if I can't pick up the phone, I will call you back within 24 hours. And then, I tend to also answer my phone if off hours, if I see some, if I'm there, I will pick up the phone. So sometimes I might be a little easier to get a hold of, but the e-procurement hotline people have a slightly higher level of access. So if you have something really complicated going on, I might end up referring you to them. If you don't like talking on the phone, you can email customer support at cityofchicago.org, or you can email me, Julia Talbot at cityofchicago.org, and there's like julia.talbot. And we will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. I have plenty of things I can answer, or lots and lots of files and instructions I can send to people. So if you're not a talker, no problem, just email. And then also, if you really don't want to deal with anybody, you can go to the City of Chicago website. We have a lot of training materials up on this online training materials page. The stuff that's going to be most useful to you is going to be under the delegate agency section. And so hopefully you will get all of your technical assistance and training needs met in terms of the e-procurement system. So now I'm going to talk about two common things that we do, you're going to have to do in e-procurement. One is accept an amendment, and the other is make a submission. We do amendments to change, to let our applicant pool know about changes or to provide them with clarifications or deeper information. So we almost always do an amendment, if only to share the questions and answers from all of our webinars. Each RFP has a webinar, and we always ask our questions, and then we share those questions and the answers, plus any other questions that we've got from people when they called or written us. And then we share those with the entire applicant pool via the e-procurement system. The amendment is always posted in e-procurement. It's not posted anywhere else. That's how you're going to see it. If we ever have to extend the due date, that's where we do it. If we find that we made a horrible mistake or there's some gaping error in the RFP, that's where we're going to do it. We're going to make those corrections and clarifications via the amendment process. So in this case, if you were looking to start, we're looking at this slide, if you were just looking to start your application, you would be here with this actions create quote. This on the right hand side says actions. There's a pull down menu. You would go to create quote and press go. Here, because there's an amendment, you get this warning, but I don't think warning is really an appropriate word here. I mean, it's an amendment. It's not like, a tornado, but they're just saying you have to actually view the amendment history before you can proceed. When you click on this blue, remember I told you navigate in e-procurement environment using the blues. When you click on the view amendment history, which is in blue, you're going to get to this screen, and that's going to start you with the amendment, the acceptance and acknowledgement process for the amendment. If you want to just look at the RFP itself and the documents, you're going to click in this document number, which is the number of the RFP. You'll see in this middle area here, there's an amendment description, which is just like a little one sentence that lets you know what the amendment is about. Highly recommend you read it. How long could it take, right? And then to review the amendment document, you're going to hit this review changes, the little eyeglass or infinity icon. I think it looks like eyeglasses, but then somebody else said they thought it looked like an infinity icon, so I'm not going to argue that. And once you're done reviewing the changes and reviewing the documents that we've put up for, associated with the amendment, you're going to acknowledge the amendment, which you can do in the upper or lower right-hand side here. When you hit acknowledge amendment, you're going to go to this screen where you're going to accept the terms and conditions. You're going to, about the change and acknowledge the changes made to the RFQ amendment document. So you're going to click the little box, and then you're going to hit acknowledge again on the right-hand side. You'll see that's kind of a theme in e-procurement. And then that will take you to this screen where you confirm your acknowledgement of the amendment. I don't know why anybody would ever say no. It will just take you back to the last screen, but they must be a reason somebody put it in there, right? So you're going to hit yes. And from there, you're going to go to this final screen where you click this tiny little box on the bottom of the left-hand side. You're going to accept the terms and conditions, and then you're going to hit accept on the upper or lower right-hand side here. And then you will have accepted your amendment. And I don't know. I would love like something magical happened every time this happens, but no, you really just accepted an amendment. But it's like, like an angel gets its wings, or like we can all fly now, or whatever. But I wish it was sort of more momentous, but that's just me. So after you've accepted your amendment, you do your application. It's brilliant. You're so ahead of the curve. You have no questions. You're writing all of the best things. You're going to help so many CHA youth, but only during the summer between June and August for 120 hours. You're going to do that. You're like in the zone, and then you're ready to submit because, hey, we can't give you money unless you submit. So when you're ready to submit, you're going to start by saving your draft one last time, because we all know as good grant writers and applicants, you want to save, save, save. Then you're going to hit continue. When you hit this continue button on the upper right-hand side, what it does is eProcurement kind of does a little scan, and it gives you error messages, much like the warning, telling you things that maybe you should know about and that you might have missed. So we're going to go over the two most common error messages here. So, and also when you do this, don't be surprised if you get like more than one error message, and don't let that give you a heart attack. It's not a judgment. It's really just a discussion that eProcurement is having with you using kind of judgy language. So you're going to have the RFQ. Here it says the RFQ control requires you to quote on all lines. I find that most of the eProcurement error messages don't, it's like they might as well just be like that 404 error message, because it doesn't make a ton of sense when you kind of have to parse it out. So in this case, the quote on all lines things, you'll see right below the error message, there's this tab that says lines. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to put in placeholder numbers. The reason that you're going to get this error is because, as I said, eProcurement is a one-size-fits-all for everything. Lots of different kinds of contracts or bids require this lines. We do not. We want you to upload a budget for us, but you still have to fill out the lines to satisfy eProcurement, because that's how the system was made. And in this case, you're going to quote on all lines. You'll go to that lines tab. You'll see there are places to put in numbers. You can put in numbers from your budget. You can just put in the number 1. You can put in your favorite number. I have been long encouraging people to put in winning lotto numbers, but nobody's taken me up on that. But whatever you want, just put numbers in those boxes, and then that error message will go away. The second common thing that we get is this error, or common error message that you might get, is a quote value is required for requirement first name. And this is eProcurement speak, basically saying you might have skipped an application question that was required. So requirements is eProcurement for the application section. Each question within the applications has a unique identifier or a name, right? In this case, it's first name. And quote value is eProcurement speak for answer. So it's basically just saying, hey, we require you to tell us your first name in that particular box, which is limited to 4,000 characters, including punctuation and spaces, is empty. Please put something in there, and then that's how you're going to take care of that error message. So after you have done all of these things, you're going to keep hitting continue. At some point, you're not going to have any error messages, and you're going to be put into this review and submit phase, which is kind of, like amazing. So at this point, you can really scroll down throughout your application, like here, and you're going to see all of your quote values. You're going to see all of your answers. If you need to update anything, you can go back and edit and then do the whole thing again. But this is like the final scan for you to see all your answers, make sure everything's the way you want it to be, make sure that all of your attachments, you can see that's up there, up on the kind of the upper third of the page. Your attachments are going to be in there, all of your answers, the made up lines, all of the things that you need for a submission here. And at the bottom of scrolling, you're going to get to your electronic signature. Here, the trick is you're going to put in your name and your title then you're going to check the box. Don't check the box first. You'll get an error message saying basically putting your name and title. And then I couldn't put this on one screen and have it still be legible to human eyes. You have this submit button over on the right-hand side. You hit submit, and voila, you get this confirmation screen. Now, this confirmation screen is how you know that you have made a good, you have made a submission to the e-procurement system. The e-procurement system will also send you a confirmation email within 24 hours of pushing in this submission. Be sure to check your spam for that. And then if you really want something more immediate and human, just email me or call me and I will totally confirm that we received your application. It's one of the more fun things I get to do around e-procurement and around having people running RFPs for the department. So yeah, call, write. I'm happy to send you a screenshot. I can see that you've submitted within seconds of your actually submitting it, so it's not a problem. So this is what I have to say about e-procurement and how to do things. I don't expect you to remember this. Again, this webinar is being recorded. It's going to be posted onto the DFSS website under the funding opportunity that it's associated with. Give me 5 business days to get the file translated and up on the DFSS YouTube channel. We're going to have these PowerPoint slides PDF'd and put up there too, so you can relive all of this stuff. If you want me to step-by-step it through you or just send you these instructions as PDFs, not associated with this recording, shoot me an email and I can totally do that for you. And most of all, just give yourself time and set yourself up for success. And we can't wait to see your applications. So I see a few questions have come in while I was yakking about how to make an application in e-procurement. And maybe we can go through some of the highlights on that. And then if people have other questions, this is the time. Obviously, if you have questions post this webinar, give Maria an email or call, and we are really looking forward to seeing your applications. And thank you so much for coming to visit and share this time with us on this fairly sunny Friday. So here we are. I'm just going to go through a few of the questions that were asked. It looks like, how long does it take to get reimbursed for funding? I don't know, Maria, if you want to hop in here too. It says like we have, I think reimbursed for funding. I know it has a lot to do with how, if you are able to voucher correctly, but it takes like 2 weeks, I think. If everything is great, it is about we can do a 2 to 4 week turnaround, and if we have to send it back, obviously, then it gets longer.
That's correct.
When you apply, do you automatically apply for the 2-year period? Yes, it's a 2-year contract. If you only want to do 1 year, is that possible? No, not really. And then do you want separate budgets? Like, no, just submit. I think it's like, do you want a 12-month budget just for this? It's like, it's not 12 months, it's for one program unit. But like, let's be honest in terms of that budget that you submit for an RFP for DFSS. That budget is it's like the jumping off point. So you're going to submit a budget that you're going to tell us your costs, and then we're going to kind of go back and forth that, there's some reconciliation there, right? In terms of our budget, of how the submitted budget is versus the actual contracted budget. I don't know if you have things to add about that, Maria?
No, that's correct.
Okay, and then here's the community areas to be served. Those are on page 9, and the target populations. Those were also part of that was a slide. I think there was 6. So those are all awesome questions. If there are any other questions, please. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Can an agency do a CHA program and other summer programs?
Can an agency do CHA program and other summer program? So the funding should not be used in combination if if organizations are serving the same young people. An organization can get funded for a summer program and a CHA program. There's nothing that excludes agencies from doing that. We are looking at a different target population, so not for the same youth or the same program itself.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, I think there is some sort of like, you don't want to, you're not allowed to really double dip, or can you? Like, in terms of the CHA program versus the other enrichment summer program versus your Chicago Ability or OST or SYEP programs, can there be co-enrollment?
So depending on the timing, depending on the way the young people are. So this program, this is not something that has been asked, but has come up before. This program is not a stipend program. So if organizations want to provide incentives to young people, that is allowable up to a certain percentage of their budget. But it is not sort of an employment or internship program.
Yeah. So that is, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. It was super helpful. Let's see if there are any other questions. This is where I totally get the like Ferris Bueller flashback, where the teacher's just like, hello, hello. We know that you're out there, but we can't see you, so it's hard to know how engaged people are or if they're truly done. So on the other hand, so if these are all the questions that we have, we're going to give you a little time back, and this will all be published in an amendment, which will go up in the next couple of weeks. And then you want to see the community area slide again? Sure. Let me see if I can get there. Look, it's like going backwards. I guess like look away. Oh, there we go. So here are your community area slides. Say it's like what? I have like Douglas Grand Boulevard, near West Side, Riverdale, Roseland, and Washington Park. I like that. Very nice graphic there. And I like how it looks like O'Hare is like a sinkhole. Or maybe that isn't O'Hare. Maybe that's like the place that isn't O'Hare. It's like the one little suburb that's not O'Hare.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, the suburb that shall not be named. So yeah, so if that is all the questions that we have, then I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day and a lovely weekend. Enjoy I guess it's kind of cold out today, but it's February. What do you want, right? And we will be posting this webinar recording and the PowerPoint slides in the next 5 business days. So that will be next week. If you have questions, bring them on now. Bring them on. Ask me. You have Maria and you have my contact information, and we look so forward to reading your applications. And I thank you in advance for all of the good work that you are already doing for Chicago's youth and the citizens of Chicago, and that you will be able to do through this program. Maria, do you have any final comments?
Nope, just thank you, Julia. Thank you for those who attended, and please let us know if there is any additional information you need or clarification before you submit. We're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. All right. Take care and have a good one.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah.